Hello, my name is Aisha Kamar, and I'm currently a communications intern at Walker's Legacy. I have the pleasure of introducing our next speaker, Maryland native Tamani Lynn, a 22-year-old recent graduate from the Bowie State University, where she studied communications with a focus in public relations, aiding in her success of founding her own organization, the Woman of Lynn LLC, and financing advisory company, Lynn Financing Advising Co. Tamani always knew that her dreams would consist of anything having to do with women's empowerment or teaching financial literacy throughout her community. With original ideas and meticulous planning, she has watched her first found ideas and dreams come into full fruition right before her eyes with her own brands. Tamani, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, but I cannot share my video. Okay, perfect. Hello, everyone. Can everybody hear me?
Yes. You look good today, so I hope you're doing good today. How are you?
Thank you so much for asking. I'm amazing, and I'm so grateful to be here with you all today.
We're so grateful to have you. We see that Woman of Lynn is dedicated to uplifting other women and also ensuring that their professional success. Can you explain your take on the importance of mentorship with women in business?
Absolutely. So again, hello everyone. My name is Tamani Lynn, as Isha just stated, which is a women's empowerment, or I'm the founder and CEO of Women's Lynn, which is a women's empowerment organization dedicated to uplifting and empowering all women to be bosses. As we do stand for the upliftment and encouragement of all women on their journeys of professional and business success, it is extremely vital to not only support, but most importantly, educate the women around you in business, which is why our National One-on-One Mentorship Program was created by myself as a part of our organization. According to a widely shared study done by Forbes, which probably a lot of you all may have seen floating across social media, minority women are actually the fastest growing group of entrepreneurs in America. And as I saw how quickly we as a community were advancing in the field of business, I thought to pay it forward to the growing girl boss behind me to not only pour into, but also educate them on what I have and am learning throughout my journey for entrepreneurship, as I saw quite a high demand for it within the industry. Along with that, support within your very same community is important, and it's nothing like having a woman, especially one that looks like you, alongside you, guiding you, but also cheering you on along the way.
Okay. Well, within Women of Lynn, we see that you offer mentorships to women in business, but you also offer one-on-one business training. How does that really go for you? Like, how does that make you feel when you get to sit with the woman and watch her business grow before both your eyes?
It is probably one of the most rewarding feelings, knowing that I'm in the position to assist women on their entrepreneurial journey, because when I first started out, it wasn't quite many people that were offering mentorship and business coaching and things like that. And I founded Women of Lynn when I was a sophomore in college at Bowie State. And so when your mind is so focused on school and, you know, education, sometimes it's kind of hard to outsource different development opportunities relating to entrepreneurship and business. So it feels really good to be in the position to help. And when I begin to see the growth with young women with their business, it is the most rewarding feeling, knowing that I too was in that position and I wanted someone to help me, but I couldn't find that help. So it's great that, you know, I had the opportunity to do so. And also, I think being raised by a single mother with being the eldest, most would look at it as a disadvantage, but I chose to let it be my driving force. And I had the opportunity to help raise my younger siblings, which exposed me to mentorship early on without me even noticing. So taking on the role of looking after, pouring into, and uplifting young women at now the age of 22 came second nature to me, and I'm grateful to be in the position to help.
Well, I think that's really sweet that you helped with your younger siblings. They got the kind of first draft of the Women of Lynn that we all see today. Well, you mentioned that you went to Bowie State University, which is an HBCU, as well as being from Prince George's County, both very, very diverse environments. How do you think being in those diverse environments kind of led to you being able to help women of all different types of groups now with Women of Lynn?
Absolutely. That's an amazing question. Thank you for asking me that. I think the fact that I was put into diverse opportunities, like being attending at HBCU and being in Prince George's County, as if you're not from Prince George's County or not from Maryland, then it's one of the most diverse counties to live in Maryland. And so being able to connect with different people from different backgrounds is probably one of the best things that I could have been involved in. As Women of Lynn is now on moving to a national level, we're able to connect with different people from different backgrounds. So I would definitely say attending at HBCU, but also my environment growing up was definitely a great addition to Women of Lynn, us as a company, and us being able to relate and connect to pretty much anyone we come in contact with. So I definitely think if you have the opportunity to attend at HBCU or a university that's diverse, or the environment you're in, if you're in a diverse surrounding, then I would definitely say use it to your benefit, because not a lot of people have that opportunity to be, you know, in a diverse surrounding. So yeah.
Okay, before I switch to a few questions about Lynn Finance Advising Co., I kind of went through Women of Lynn's Instagram, and I'd have to say it's very aesthetically pleasing. It's very clean, very pretty, very cute. And I like the color scheme. So one thing that's really important for young entrepreneurs is to really select branding and templates that really flow with the message they're trying to create, and also resides with their message and who they are personally. Tell us a little bit about how you went about picking the branding for Women of Lynn, and some tips that you can give some of these girls when picking out branding templates for themselves.
Absolutely. So firstly, thank you for the compliment. A lot of people don't really know this, but I actually do all of the branding and marketing for Women of Lynn. We've never had a marketing team or anything like that, because I did start it in college. And actually, I utilized being in college to my advantage, because you notice that when you network horizontally, when you're in college, you notice the person or the student you're sitting next to may be a graphic design major, it may be a communications major to help you with certain things. So I would literally just ask around different students like, hey, what do you guys think about this branding layout? I'm new to starting out. I don't really have a lot of funding, because, you know, we are in school, and I just utilize the resources around me and the opinions as well. But also a great piece of advice that I would give to women watching this seminar right now is to try to outsource different types of, I would say, tools that are out there to your benefit, like Canva. Canva is, if not the number one, the best source when it comes to branding and marketing. But when it comes to coming down to a color scheme and deciding what you want your brand to convey, I would definitely say pick branding that sticks with you and that could grow with you. The colors white, pink, and black, which is what our branding colors are, they stand for upliftment, encouragement, and empowerment. So make sure that, you know, you pick colors that can grow with you, and also that you know the meanings behind the colors that you use when it comes to branding. But if you're in the position right now, you don't have a lot of funding, or you don't really have a lot of outsourcing opportunities, definitely try to utilize the tools that are here for you as an entrepreneur starting out, like Canva, like Spark Post, and a lot of different platforms that are out there to help you, because you definitely can do it.
Okay, well, I'm pretty sure all the girls should have taken some notes on that one to really help them out. So I want to move along to some questions that are relating to your finance advising company, Lynn Financing Advising Co. How do you think improving financial literacy amongst young women of color will advance our communities?
That's a great question. So through Lynn Financial Advising Co., improving financial literacy within a multitude of communities is extremely important. However, in the realm specifically relating to women of color, financial literacy is pertinent to be knowledgeable in, because contrary to popular belief, it is something that we were and still are generationally not exposed to due to a numerous amount of reasonings. So making the active choice to implement a resource to pour back into the community, yet again, like with Women of Lynn, was extremely important to me. So in further teaching, further exposing, and advocating for young multicultural women to learn financial literacy, it will greatly advance the future and success of generations of women to come, to hopefully create a domino effect of learning and awareness.
Okay, with COVID-19 being an issue, of course, a lot of people's businesses are being hit, especially in the realm of finance, because people aren't able to operate at the full functioning level that they're kind of used to now that, you know, things are shut down, people are now working from home. When you look at the numbers, you kind of see that women of color get probably less than 1% of venture capital that's out there. And most of our money to go into our businesses either come from our own pockets or from crowdfunding from friends and family. How do you think that teaching financial literacy can kind of help women bridge the gap between not being able to get these venture capital and still being able to compete at the level of other groups that are able to get access to these capitals?
Absolutely. That is a great question. Again, I do think that education does start with us as a community. As we know, it is something that is not widely offered in our schools and universities as it should be, because, you know, a lot of different financial literacy tools are really important when you get to that level of adulthood and you realize that no one has taught you certain things. So bridging the gap between, you know, where we need to be and where we are is extremely important to myself. And I think that if we begin to adopt, you know, different ideologies centered around educating and bettering our community and pouring back into our community with the things that we learn, especially when it relates to financial literacy, I feel like the more we put into trying to bridge that gap, the more, you know, positive change that we can see from that. And with that being said, I do believe that education when it comes to financial literacy does start when people are young, which is why Lynn Financial Advising Co. is actually going to be, well, probably, you know, next summer or later on down the line, you know, when everything has hopefully cleared up with COVID-19, our global pandemic that is currently going on, we're going to start teaching financial literacy courses throughout different high schools and then different middle schools. So we're trying to target young, you know, multicultural women of color and also, you know, other demographics as it relates to financial literacy, because we definitely want to bridge that gap.
I'm so glad that you brought up that last point, because I was going to move on to kind of the next question I was going to ask you. And I really do hope to see that things clear up so you can be able to jump onto that leg of your business. I want to say in August, Prince George's County announced that 2024 would be this first class that will be required to learn financial literacy within school. And I know that you said you wanted to work with high school and middle school students. At what age do you really think that young girls and boys should be learning financial literacy? And how do you think that, you know, we can best teach them? Because like you said, you're an older sister. I'm the youngest of my family, but I do have younger cousins that I often reach out to, and even girls within my neighborhood that I often talk to when I do community service. So at what age do you think it's best to start reaching out to them, and what methods do you think would be the best to kind of get them to see how important financial literacy actually is?
Absolutely. So that is a question that we were going over for at least 5 to 6 months when we first started, because we're just like, you know, when you get to a certain age, when are you able to conceptualize financial literacy? When are you able to understand it? And through different studies that we did on the back end, ages 14 to 15 are the ages that we think that financial literacy would be the most impactful. Although, you know, different languages are taught to us as that is standard, we think that as serious as a second language is in schools, it should be financial literacy, because it is, you know, the driving force. You know, when you get out in the adult world, it's a driving force of the entire life that you have following school and leaving home from your parents, that kind of sheltered life that you live, you know, while you're younger. So the different things that we will start doing is different workshops, like learning how to write a check or learning about credit really young, because these are really intricate things that, you know, people tend to learn when it comes to financial literacy. So if we start with the basics, you know, as I just said early on, then when they get to bigger things like loans and, you know, capital interest, different things like that, it won't seem as much of a hassle. Because if anyone a part of this summit right now is a college student or has recently graduated, then you guys know that as soon as you graduate, a lot of stuff hits you that nobody really tells you about when it comes to financial literacy. So we think that the younger that we go when it comes to educating these different groups of women, that we think it'll be the most beneficial. But we definitely think ages 14 to 15 are the ages to start learning about financial literacy. And also, sidebar, before it does get to that point where financial literacy is a requirement, which thankfully is finally a requirement, I would definitely say try to outsource different videos or different educational platforms to educate yourself on it. If you're around the ages of 14 to 15, try to outsource different educational platforms to learn, you know, before it becomes that necessity. You start seeing those classes, so you can be even more prepared when it comes to that time for you to learn.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for that financial literacy bit. Congratulations on recently graduating from Bowie State University. What do you think is next for your entrepreneurship journey? I know that you have Women of Land and you also have the financial advising company, but do you see anything else in store?
Thank you so much, first and foremost, as it was a very long but highly beneficial 4 years in the class of 2020. Did not expect our senior years to end the way that it did in light of the global pandemic we're facing. I've managed to trust and have faith in the opportunities that lie ahead for my growing brand, also with Women of Lynn. And I also wish that with anything that I do, that I'm able to continue to educate, uplift, and empower any woman I come across, even if it's virtually, and have decided to trust the beauty and essence of time and season. So aside from that, we have a lot planned for Women of Lynn coming up in the coming months as we're reopening mentorship applications, as we do offer one-on-one mentorship. We're embarking on season 3 of our international podcast, the Women of Lynn podcast, where we interview female entrepreneurs all across the country and so much more, and are thankful for the current collaborations we're part of with amazing organizations like Walker's Legacy, and are extremely excited for what's next.
Okay, well, we're all excited to see what's next for you. We know that you are an entrepreneur. We kind of heard about both of your businesses, but besides being an entrepreneur, you're a little bit of a philanthropist, as you do a lot for your community as well, helping other young women. How important do you think it is for young women of color to not only be in entrepreneurship fields, but also be giving back to their communities at the same time?
That is a great question. I think it is extremely important to not only, if you're a woman of color in entrepreneurship, to be in entrepreneurship and give back to your entrepreneurial community, but to also give back to your community on the back end, because those are the same people that support your brand and support where your business is today. And it's just the fact that where I grew up in PG County, Maryland, it was so uplifting and empowering all in itself to be around so many successful Black women and multicultural women on a consistent basis. And when you get out in your community and you see different areas where a community needs help, it's almost like second nature. So it's been an amazing journey to be able to not only grow entrepreneurially, but also give back to my community at the same time. Because as I was saying before, the younger that you pour into people is, the more beneficial and impactful things are. And I always try to be the woman that I needed when I was younger to other women and to other people, because you never know who needs your upliftment, empowerment, and encouragement. And you never know the words that you may give someone or the pouring into that you give to another person. You never know how that can impact them. So I definitely do think that pouring into your community is extremely important, whether it's with donations or collaborating with different nonprofits, or just being there for your community in any way that you can is extremely important.
Wow, I really do agree with making, like, if someone is spending money with you, that's very, very important. Especially in times like today where money is tight for a lot of people. We're in a pandemic, so showing the people who support you support is very important to do. A lot of our viewers are preteens. The summit is for, girls aged 18 and younger. Do you have any advice for those young women who might have an idea, but not quite know how to turn it into a brand or a business, and who are looking to start their entrepreneurship journey, especially this young?
Absolutely. So firstly, if you are part of the summit, you're in the right direction. Congratulations. When it comes to embarking on the journey that is entrepreneurship, although it may seem intimidating, it is important to remember that sometimes your biggest limitations are set by yourself. So the second that you decide to put your fears, doubts, and potential anxieties to rest and take charge in this journey and to make it your own is when you have successfully bossed up, which is what we like to call it. And I would like to give 3 key points of advice to young women that are a part of the summit, that are looking for a sense of encouragement before embarking on this journey, or if you need advice on continuing your journey in business, if you're already in business, ages 18 or younger. 3 key points of advice are to 1, do it scared, do it broke, do it when you do not understand, do it anyway. Sometimes when we may not have all the tools, support, and resources that we think we need to take that leap of faith, business-wise or professionally, in all actuality, the highest success that you will see when starting this journey is that when you start where you are with using what you have and doing what you can, you've already done 90% of the work, and consistency just follows. 2, gain mentorship early on, as a lot of the women were saying before myself and the amazing panelists that were saying before myself. Obtaining a mentor early on in your journey of entrepreneurship can save you and will save you a ton of stress, time, and believe it or not, money. So when you see a woman or anyone in the position to potentially assist you on your journey, please take full advantage of it, because it's better to have support with an experienced individual. And lastly, believe in yourself. Believing in myself and trusting my journey with women was the best thing I could have ever done. During my sophomore year of college, I made the decision to actually change my career route from the military to foot women's empowerment and business development. And although I was extremely nervous to embark on not only the journey of entrepreneurship itself, but to also leave a life that I was familiar with, which is what a lot of entrepreneurs do face. They make that decision, okay, this is the journey that I want to embark on. It's completely different to what I know. I made the brave decision to believe in myself, and it has by far been one of the best choices I've made, as I've been able to impact hundreds of women with that one leap of faith, which is why I'm here with you all today. Had I not made that conscious decision to walk in my purpose, I'm not sure what my route would have been. All in all, to wrap up, if you are sitting on a dream or a passion or an idea, you never know who needs to see what you want to offer, and you never know if what you're sitting on could change the world only until you begin. So take that leap of faith.
Okay. Well, one thing that we all know that you do is you really use your platforms to empower women. But in order to empower women, you have to keep yourself also empowered. Because if you're not empowered, it's so easy to just fall into anxiety or depression, and everything starts to spiral down. What are some key ways that you keep yourself empowered so that you can keep empowering others?
Yeah, so I love answering this question when I get it, because a lot of people ask me, how are you able to keep going? How are you able to pour into women consistently? You're a person too at the end of the day. I'm extremely intentional with what I fill my mind with. I'm extremely intentional with my daily routines. I began to trade music with podcasts and social media with books, different stuff like that to consistently pour into me. And I have different, what I like to call virtual people that I look up to, like Coriel DeBoe. She's a famous author and also in the women's empowerment industry, other organizations like Walker's Legacy, and just looking up to different organizations and people in position that could serve as a source of inspiration to you is really important. But it's really important if you're in that industry of empowerment, or if you're uplifting other people on a consistent basis, it's really important to pour into yourself on a consistent basis. Even if it's just working out at least 30 minutes to an hour a day, or finding different motivational YouTube videos. That's something that I do a lot. I like to give myself at least an hour of doing that, just watching back-to-back motivational empowerment videos. I love TEDx Talks and TED Talks. It's extremely empowering to do that. Just finding different lanes of what works for you when it comes to self-empowerment is extremely important. But when you pour into others, you cannot be an empty cup pouring into others. So make sure to pour into yourself first.
On your website, on your About Us page, you have God is within her. She will not fail. How important do you think that your spirituality is in building your business and strengthening you and empowering you to keep going on and putting into Women of Len?
Absolutely. So I do say that my faith is the driving force with what I do. Without God, I'm not sure where I would be or where my brands would be. I think it's really important when you have a sense of spirituality to depend on that and to rely on that, because that is why you are here, and it's extremely important to use that as your driving force. And also, I like to keep that quote with me. It's actually Psalm 46:5, God is within her, she will not fail. It's a verse. I keep that in my pocket with me wherever I go to just remind me of my why when it comes to Women of Len. So I think it's really important to keep that sense of spirituality when you get into your entrepreneurial journey, when you begin to build a business, because a lot of different things may come at you. You may feel discouraged sometimes. You may feel like you can't do it anymore. But when you bring yourself back to your spirituality and your why, it's really refreshing, and it reminds you of why you're here.
Okay. Well, I'm looking at the Q&A panel, and it looks like the girls are really sending in a lot of questions.
Oh, yeah.
So let's jump into them. One of the questions is, how did you get sponsors and people into your business? They're always looking for organizations or companies to show to her work to start a business, to show their work to start a business.
Absolutely. So, so the question was, how do we gain sponsors?
Yes. How do you get sponsors and get people onto your team?
Okay, so when it comes to getting sponsors and getting people on your team, I think when people join our team and when people reach out to us in sponsorships, it's because they see how much work that we do within our community and how impactful we are to the women that, you know, we're already connected to. So I think it's really important to just keep going hard with what you're doing. And, you know, I trust, or you should trust, that somebody will see you, you know, in order to sponsor you or to join your team. But something that we've done as well, we're not afraid to do outreach. So if we see that there's a company alike ours or different businesses, we love to network horizontally. We love to network with other organizations in our community and also across the nation to gain sponsorships and people part of our team, because we always say the more the merrier when it comes to women's empowerment. So you definitely keep, you know, trusting your journey and keep going with whatever you're doing, and the sponsors and the team growth will definitely come.
Okay. Someone else asks, and I really do like this question, what sacrifices did you have to make to get to where you are?
Oh, wow. What sacrifices? Where do I start? With starting a business in college, early on, you kind of have to sacrifice going out with your friends or, you know, partying with your friends, doing different things. You kind of have to mature a lot quicker than the average person, because with an entrepreneurial mindset, it's a totally different mindset than, you know, a normal person. So a lot of different sacrifices that I've had to make was probably, that college experience almost, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. I did have to sacrifice sometimes my sleep. I know that will forever be a sacrifice when it comes to your entrepreneurial journey. But along the way and along your journey, when it comes to entrepreneurship, it's a never ending journey of sacrifice, but there are beneficial sacrifices. There are always sacrifices that pour back into you at the end of the day and that help your business and develop your business at the same time. So we've definitely faced a lot of different sacrifices, but it's all been for a good cause.
Okay. Back to the question I asked earlier about the organization, someone asked a follow-up question to that. How do you deal with organizations that you reached back out to and you just don't get any type of response from? Like they just ghost you or just never reply?
So when it comes to that, if you've ever experienced anything similar, or if you're scared to outreach other brands in fear of that, don't be scared. As I was saying before, you doing your part is 90% of the journey, and it's really important to just do your part. But when it comes to people not responding, don't get discouraged. Don't beat yourself up. Don't say, oh, I don't know why they didn't want to work with me. You never know what that company may be facing on the other end. You don't know if they have, you know, a ton of collaborations or if their emails are over flooded. So I was saying, I would say if you don't get a response, try to follow up at least one more time after that. But if you just totally don't get a response, don't get discouraged or anything like that. There are 1,000,001 organizations. There are 1,000,000 people that want to collaborate with you. So don't get discouraged and just keep going and keep reaching out, and don't let that stop you.
Okay. Someone else wants to know, how do you start a business? Like there's a lot of things in, you know, finding an idea, but it's very hard for a lot of people to just get down to the nitty-gritty and do the actual legal concrete work when it comes to starting a business. Can you give them a little bit of a breakdown of how you go about that?
Absolutely. So there's kind of two parts to starting a business. One is the actual coming up with, you know, the idea of your business, the mission of it, the reasoning of it, and then the second part is the legalization of it. So I think that one should follow the other, and you don't want to deal with the legal part first because you want to know what you're offering first. So the first things that you kind of want to tackle is, you know, what is your brand name? What is your brand mission? Who do you want to impact? What's your target audience? You know, who are you going to be, you know, pouring into, and what exactly do you want to do? And when you answer those small questions, it will then lead you to the legalization portion of it, because you want to figure out, okay, do I want to be an actual company, limited liability? Are we going to see profit, or do I want to be a nonprofit? And, you know, when you begin to answer those first set of questions, it will give you a kind of a business entity and business route with where you want to go. For example, when starting Women of Land, we were on the fence for a really long time, like, do we want to be a nonprofit or do we want to be an LLC? But then we realized when it comes to business development, we're doing workshops and different stuff like that. Well, they need to become an LLC because, of course, that is a lane of profit. And when it comes to being a nonprofit, sometimes you can gain resourcing and funding from the government. So it's really just what works best for you, but it's really important to ask yourself those first set of questions first to figure out what exactly you want to do to kind of give you that answer as far as the legal route.
Okay. Someone here asked a question, but I'm going to take the question and tie it into something a little bit deeper. You earlier talked about how important it is to network. And I think with women of color businesses, it's really important for us to have a network and support within each other. This person asks is, how do you go about talking to someone and talking about how you like their company? But I also want to go deeper and saying, how important is it for you to have friends that are also entrepreneurs that are women of color? And how important is it for you to have a network full of women who are entrepreneurs as well?
Oh, wow. So that is a really good question. That is a question that I actually get a lot. When it comes to having different, friends in your circle, when it comes to being an entrepreneur and starting up in business, it's really important to have people around you that support you, but are also, aligned with the journey that you're going on, because your entrepreneurial journey may be completely different from the life that you were living before. So it's really important to kind of have people around you that are on the same path as you, that will uplift you, encourage you, and tell you that everything will be fine. Because as business owners, you can go through a lot of different sacrifices, as we were talking about just a few moments ago. You can go through a lot of hardships, but you can also go through wins. And when you have people around you that have gone through some of the same things that you're gone through or are going through, they can better, I would say, assist you on your journey. And sometimes your friends may even serve as mentors, because if you're surrounded by people that are on the same path as you, you never know what they may have faced, and they could actually pour more insight into you. So I think it's really important to have women around you that are on the same path and journey as you. And if you don't have that community right now, that's why it's really important to kind of network and kind of get out of your box. Because in the beginning in college, nobody's really starting a business or being an entrepreneur. So you're kind of always finding yourself at events like, oh, I feel like I'm the odd one out, or, at a cafe, and you're just like, oh, I don't really have friends that are on the same path as me. It's really important to attend summits like this and webinars like this from amazing organizations like Walker's Legacy, or, come the time when we're allowed to go back out and, enjoy life, hopefully back to normal as we know it. Attend different events. Search up Eventbrite, which is a global platform that is used to help you search events in your city or locally. And definitely get yourself out of what you're used to kind of network, because you never know if somebody that's going to the same event as you is looking for a friend as well, or looking for other people to connect with as well. So just definitely outsource when it comes to networking if you don't already have that community, but if you do, definitely take full advantage of the community that is around you.
Okay, I would say one thing with owning a business, because I own one as well, is that a lot of people think, oh, well, there's already 10 people doing the same thing as you. There's no need to do it. And I like to think of it as, if there's 10 million people doing it, that means there's a market. You just have to network yourself differently. We have a question here for you that asks it, how do you get your company to stand out? So how important is it for your company to stand out? And how do you differentiate your company from the competition?
Absolutely. So when it comes to having your company stand out, for example, like with Women of Lynn, as we know, women's empowerment is so many different organizations and companies and different initiatives, nonprofits that overall serve the mission of women's empowerment. But it's really important for you to kind of figure out what will set me aside. So for example, with Women of Lynn, we didn't really see a women's empowerment organization specifically that offered, a podcast, a blog section on their website for empowerment, different business development workshops, panels, mentoring programs, business coaching programs. So it's really important for you to just sit down and just figure out, okay, what is the playing field look like? And, what is everyone else, doing, to kind of figure out what can I do differently to still pour back into the market, but in a different way. And I always say that collaboration is better than competition. So if you see another person in the same industry that you're in, it takes nothing to reach out to gain insight or collaborate, do different things like that. Because as I always say, with any business market, the more the merrier. But when it comes to an oversaturated market, if God called you to it, there will always be room for you. So never get discouraged. If you see 1,000,000 people doing what you're doing, you can be the 1,000,002 people doing it, or you can be the 1,000,010 person doing it. It's never too many people in one market, because obviously if there are a lot of people in it, there is a demand for it. So you can definitely add something to it.
I definitely agree. Within the first couple of years of starting a business, I feel like a lot of businesses, when they first open, you have like all your friends and family supporting you. Then you get to that plateau point where it's just like, I don't know what to do next. I'm kind of stuck. We have a question here of someone asking you, how do you handle that slow process, that plateau with customers when you first start your business?
So that is an amazing question. And that's something that a lot of entrepreneurs actually run into in the first couple of years of starting. You'll notice that when you first start, you're getting a lot of support from family, friends, close, supporters, different things like that. But then you'll realize, okay, as time goes on, things are kind of dying down because I can't expect those same, pool of people to continuously market to and purchase from me. So when you're on that slope of kind of trying to transition between, family, close supporters, that same consistent base, it's really important to utilize different things like social media platforms, or attending different events like these summits to kind of branch out to pretty much look over your horizon when it comes to who else you can impact. But don't get discouraged at all when you realize your family or your friends are like, oh, I've kind of given you, a lot, got a lot of support from, your family. If you kind of see that differentiation, just see, okay, what can I do differently? How can I pivot? Who else can I pour into? Who else can I market to? So different things that actually I did, because making that transition as the person who asked that question is very common. As I made that transition, I kind of try to figure out, okay, what are we not doing? So we got on Instagram, we got on Twitter, we got on Facebook to kind of open up our horizons when it came to that. And then after we did that, it was like everything just, kind of sped forward ahead. So kind of try to do a diagnostic of what you could do differently to pour into more people and to expand your target audience. So you don't have to run into that feeling of, oh, I don't have family or friends supporting me anymore. You'll have an entirely different pool of people.
Okay, well, I think the last question I'm going to ask you today actually comes from abroad. I believe it comes from someone who's in the Bahamas. So the first part of the question I'm going to add to and ask you, do you see yourself taking Women of Lynn internationally? But also, if you do want to do that, how do you branch your company off into different countries and different states instead of just keeping it local?
Absolutely. So that is an amazing question. And thank you to that person who asked that question from the Bahamas. Hello, hello. When it comes to branching out globally, that is one main wish that I have for Women of Lynn. As we just started back in 2018 and we're already on a national level, you kind of have to go at your own pace. But when it comes to getting outside of your country, I would definitely say try to look into brand ambassadorships that are in different countries. That's something that we begun doing. Look at different people who can serve as brand ambassadors for your company, who can serve as a representation for your company in other countries, because you never know how far their reach may be. But if you're on the local level right now, wish to be on the national, and then further one day the global level, just move step by step and don't try, rush your footsteps. Just try to walk in your purpose as long as you can. And I promise you, you will get to that point where you're national and global. But if you stay focused on what you're doing, you will definitely get to that point.
Okay, I know I said that was going to be the last question, but here's a sneaky shout out that you can add in for yourself, because someone wants to know, when does your mentoring program start? So you can go ahead and give us some information on that.
Absolutely. So applications actually for our one-on-one mentorship program open next month in August. And you guys subscribe to womenoflynn.org to be the first to know we've reopened applications. But if you are interested in business coaching, which is one of our 12-month programs that we've actually just reopened, you guys can go ahead and find more information out about that at womenoflynn.org/business coaching as well. But our mentoring program is opening in August. In the meantime, you guys can definitely subscribe to our website as stated to be updated on the exact date. And I'll go ahead and give you guys a little secret. If you guys subscribe, 9 times out of 10, you guys will receive a date before anybody else even knows through our email campaign. So definitely go ahead and get on that when you can.